Loads and loads of West Ham transfer rumours out there at the minute, which is what you expect. Declan Rice has left. We've still not signed anyone, so we need to replace Declan. We need to replace Manuel Lanzini. A couple of players being linked with moves away, and should they leave West Ham, they need to be replaced. And that's just talking about replacing the players that we had last season. That's without upgrading any position, should we wish to do so. So naturally, lots and lots of rumours. Doesn't mean they're all true, doesn't mean I believe them, doesn't mean you should believe them, but there's plenty of them out there, which is expected. I think that's expected. I would expect West Ham to have made a couple of bids this last week, some we know of. I think they've probably made a couple of bids we don't know of yet. I think there's probably players that we actually want that we've not heard of, that hasn't hit the press. Carlos Borges has given me hope for that. 6 weeks ago, very sporadically linked to him. West Ham are interested, might be part of the Declan Rice deal. Very, very light links to him. Nothing for 6 weeks, and suddenly yesterday, Fabrizio Romano says there's a verbal agreement between West Ham and Man City. We've been doing business quietly on that deal, and I like it. And that gives me hope that we've been working on other deals very quietly that we don't know about. But anyway, I've chosen some of the rumours I wish to discuss today. I'm not going to do them all, it would take too long. So I've handpicked some of the bigger ones, and I'll be giving a little update on them and my opinion as well, hypothetically. If this rumour is true, etc, etc. You get the point. You get it by now. But anyway, before I crack on, please do drop a like on the video if you're enjoying it, and subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat as well. So the big one is we are making a £50 million bid for Palhinha. We made a £40 million bid. That got rejected by Fulham. But things have changed a lot since then. Not at our end, at their end. Fulham are getting rocked by Saudi Arabia. So Mitrovic, one of the clubs want Mitrovic, £25 million bid got rejected. Apparently that club's gone back in with a £30 million bid with Mitrovic. And he's essentially on strike. He's refusing to almost play for Fulham now, saying that he wants to go. And I understand why he wants to go. Money. Why would he not want to go? Not every player wants to. Son, for example, has turned down a move to Saudi Arabia. He doesn't want to go. He wants to stay in England. He wants to stay with Spurs. And he's staying for footballing reasons. He doesn't want to go over there for monetary reasons. But a lot of players will be motivated by cash. Mitrovic is one of those players. He wants to go for money. I get it. I don't like it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I feel sorry for Fulham fans because there's not much they can do in that situation, but I get it. I get why any player wants to go over there and fill their boots and boost their bank account. But it's not good news for Fulham. And they're also targeting Marco Silva now. 40 million. I think it's euros, but let's just say 40 million. 40 million for a 2-year contract for a manager is obscene. Marco Silva and loyalty isn't really something you say in the same sentence too much. So I think it's fair to expect that Fulham might lose their manager and their striker in the next couple of weeks to Saudi Arabia. Now, Palhinha a week ago was wanting to come to West Ham, and the rumours are that he is keen on the move to West Ham and that he and his camp are hoping Fulham can work something out with West Ham and he can get his move. Again, probably for monetary values. Now, we've also got the Europa League there. We've won the trophy. Sorry, Fulham fans, but West Ham are in a better place right now than Fulham. But also, we will probably double his wages or something. He will earn more at West Ham than he does at Fulham. So I get why Palhinha wants to come to us. So that was the rumour last week, that Palhinha is almost wanting to come to London Stadium, and that was before the Marco Silva thing and the Mitrovic thing as well. So Fulham's in a little bit of a tricky position at the minute, but the rumours are we're going to be bidding up to 50 million, so the deal is worth it. If all clauses are met, it will come to 50 million. I'm hoping that'll be our last bid. I'm hoping that that's our maximum on it. But I get it. I get why David Moyes wants Palhinha. There's this debate about sort of Premier League experience going around at the minute. And do you know something? I get why David Moyes wants it. But what I will say is it's not important. It's not always been important to David Moyes. Some of the current players in our squad, the important players in our squad, were brought to the club by or under David Moyes without Premier League experience. Agerd, Jared Bowen, Thomas Souček, Vladimir Coufal. Plenty of these players came to the club when Lucas Paqueta, Gianluca Scamacca, these players came to West Ham while David Moyes was manager, and Moyes has played them, Moyes has integrated them. So while this summer's statement was Premier League experience, I completely get why he's doing it. Moyes' reasoning for our slow start last season, now you don't have to agree with him. Okay, I'm not telling you that this is what happened. I'm telling you this is what Moyes said has happened. Moyes claimed part of the reason for our slow start last season was it was taking a while for those that we purchased overseas to settle into the Premier League. You don't have to agree with him. That is the reason the manager gave. If David Moyes genuinely believes that, then why would he not try and minimise those he's bringing in from overseas? And why would he not try and focus more on players with Premier League experience? If he genuinely believes that's the reason for the slow start. If you identify an issue for last season, which Moyes has suggested is it took a while for players to settle in, then why would you not rectify it in the summer transfer window, which is by going for players with Premier League experience, minimising that impact? It just makes sense. Like I said, you don't have to like it, you don't have to agree with it. That's what the manager has said. It's why we started slow. Now, I appreciate what a lot of people are going to be shouting right now, which is, well, hurry up, the Premier League season starts in 3 weeks, we've not signed anyone. We had to wait for the Declan Rice sale to go through, and since then we have bid for Palhinha. We have bid, and by the sounds of it, had verbally an offer accepted by Manchester City for Carlos Borges, and there will be other bids that has gone in we just don't know about yet. It sounds like things are happening with Alvarez, Zakaria. Who's Zakira? Zakaria, we bid for him, and negotiations have been happening with Juventus. They've had a stumbling block. It depends what you believe, I guess, but I do believe we'd be making bids as soon as, or even prior to, the sale of Declan Rice going through. So we will bring in players, but Moyes wants his defensive midfielder, the big purchase, to come in with Premier League experience. I get it, because when we buy that defensive midfielder, he has to go straight into the starting 11. The left back doesn't. We'll get onto those targets, but the left back is coming in to replace Aaron Cresswell, who's currently our second choice left back. Carlos Borges is coming in. He doesn't necessarily walk into the starting 11. He's coming in to, I assume, to challenge Said Benrahma. He doesn't go straight into the starting 11. He doesn't have to. The defensive midfielder probably does. Alternatively, it's Flynn Downs, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not confident in Flynn Downs being our first choice defensive midfielder. A squad player, yes. Do I want Flynn Downs to leave? No. But do I want him to start, be the first name on the team sheet in that position? No. So I think the purchase, the signing of Palhinha, he has to start against Bournemouth. He has to walk into our starting 11. So I get why Moyes wants to bring in someone that can, with that Premier League experience, so it doesn't need time to settle in, or minimises that time of settling in, and that he can hit the ground running just like that. I get it completely. His age profile, it's not the best one, but you know something, as long as we are signing players like Carlos Borges as well as Palhinha, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the window as a whole, if that was the situation. Now, before I give you further updates and opinions on more transfer targets, such as Alvarez, Philip Billing and Aaron Cresswell leaving, sad. This video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. You can download it via the link in the description below, or the QR code that's currently on your screen now. Myself and Gonzo will sit here and say it's a really good football app. It's the best football app for bringing you the news on your club. We had a perfect example at the weekend, Tuesday. We played on Tuesday, didn't we? When we played on Tuesday against Spurs, West Ham's Twitter account tweeted out the graphic with the squad on it. On the bench, there was no George Earthy. The OneFootball app put out their notification. Here is the lineup for West Ham taking on Spurs in Australia today. They had George Earthy on the bench. And today, who came on against Spurs? George Earthy came on against Spurs. So OneFootball were better than West Ham's official Twitter account with the team news on Tuesday ahead of that friendly against Spurs. So if I can't convince you, that might convince you. But do give it a go. It's a completely free app. You download it, you tailor it to what you want. So Gonzo only does West Ham news. I do West Ham news, but I also do the Premier League one. I like to keep up with all the big news, what's going on in the Premier League, because I'm nosy. And I'm a bit of a fan of the Premier League. I'm a bit of a Premier League fanboy. Don't mind admitting it. Sometimes. But you can, anyway, download it. Links in description. Completely free. Give it a go. Check it out. Alvarez. So last week it was sort of like West Ham will be making a bid for Edson Alvarez. The rumours are at the minute that his agent is starting to demand a little bit too much money. Now there's a reason Dortmund pulled out of this. Dortmund went after him 3-4 weeks ago now. And it felt like it was all but done. It felt like Alvarez was going to Dortmund and that was that. That deal did not go through. Dortmund pulled out and said, we don't want him anymore. Now some of the reasons that got put out there varied. Depending on what you read, the reasonings for Dortmund pulling out varied, which gives you a little bit of a clue that nobody really knows. If there was one firm reason, everybody would report the same thing. But when there's different sources reporting different reasons, I always assume that means nobody's 100% sure. They're guessing a little bit. Some said it's because they're just going to go with that Emre Can. They're going to target a completely different midfielder. Some said it was the financial package. Now, if his agent is playing greedy, then maybe that is the reason Dortmund pulled out. Maybe Dortmund agreed things with Ajax. Alvarez was key, and then his agent started asking for a little bit too much money that made Dortmund go, wait, this is too rich for us. We're going to back off. Maybe that's what's happened here. Maybe we've gone after Alvarez, discovered while he was only 40 million and Palhinha is 50 million, we thought, oh, Alvarez is better, 10 million cheaper. Once you start bringing into account how much his agent wants and so on and so forth, you might find that expenditure, the difference between getting Alvarez and Palhinha is no longer 10 million, it might be 5 million. You might think, well, actually, for an extra 5 million, let's go after the number one guy. Let's go get Palhinha instead. I'm only speculating. I'm doing exactly what those sources did when Dortmund pulled out for Alvarez. I'm just putting two and two together here. But I wouldn't be surprised. We've explored Alvarez, discovered that the financial package overall is a little bit pricey for us, and better value is in Palhinha. So I do believe that we'll be bidding for Palhinha again, so we shall wait and see. But a new name that we've been linked to today is Philip Billing of Bournemouth. Only got a year left on his contract, and this is coming from Fabrizio Romano. He's done a lot of reporting on West Ham this summer, isn't he? He must know someone at that club. He's got a good link somewhere at West Ham, does Fabrizio. But anyway, he's reporting that West Ham is one of the clubs that might be interested in Billing. That's all it is. It's just interest at this point. When he was at Huddersfield, I would have loved him at West Ham. When he first came into the Premier League, I thought, here we go. And then when Huddersfield got down, there's a lot of Huddersfield fans not too happy with him. They felt that he was a little bit lazy. Then when I watched him play for his national team, and did little to change my mind. But since, at Bournemouth, the season before last in the Championship, last season in the Premier League, I thought he was fantastic last season for them. And I do think he would tick a lot of what we're looking for. That box-to-box midfielder, gets goals as well, arrives into the box late. Now, what he would be is a competition/upgrade on Thomas Souček. That's not your defensive midfielder. Billing is not the replacement for Declan Rice, so that would be Palhinha plus Billing if we were to go get them. He's an alternative to James Ward-Prowse. Now, I'm not going to talk about Ward-Prowse. There's so much going on, and there's about 4 different stories about Ward-Prowse out there at the minute, and they're all completely different. We're going to offer Flynn Downs for Ward-Prowse. Flynn Downs doesn't want to go. Southampton don't want Flynn Downs. Southampton do want Flynn Downs, but they don't want to sell. There's just so many stories regarding Downs and Ward. I'm staying away from it. But I think Billing would be an alternative to Ward-Prowse rather than Alvarez or Palhinha. So we've always felt there's going to be 2 centre midfielders. The rumours continue to suggest so. Billing, it depends on the price tag for me. If it's cheap enough, if it's a bit of a bargain, then I'd love him here. Tall, strong, like I said, very energetic, gets goals. I would like him, and I could see him succeeding under David Moyes as well. I could see David Moyes liking Billing quite a lot, actually. So that's a big yes for me. Now, a couple of days ago, the Aaron Cresswell news came out, and I mean, this is how much rumours there are. This happened 48 hours. It was big news 2 days ago. It's like gone already. But it came a bit out of surprise that Cresswell was sort of in advanced talks with Wolves. On one hand, I get it. We've got a 33-year-old here that's in the last year of his contract. We can cash in on and get a couple of million quid for Cresswell. On the other hand, I'd be sad to see him go, and I'm a bit like, hang on a minute. Homegrown, we've got very little of them left at the minute. We really need to be careful with this homegrown counter in our squad. 9 years service at the club. And I am biased. I think he's a good player, but I appreciate not every subscriber agrees with me on that one. That's fine. I'm willing to take it. Right? I don't mind you disagreeing about Cresswell. I get why you disagree about Cresswell, but I think he's a good. I think he's still a good player, and he's been a fantastic player in the past for us. And I'd be sad to see him go. 9 years he's been at the club. That's massive. It felt like he was maybe going to be captain. Moyes obviously didn't commit to it, and that was Moyes' opportunity to say. So perhaps that made me believe this rumour, by the way. This rumour I believed because I should have checked this, but I feel Cresswell didn't come on against Tottenham. I feel when we played Spurs on Tuesday, Cresswell didn't come on. And if that's true, that would be a bit weird, wouldn't it? Why would you not give Cresswell minutes? And secondly, that is the natural captain. The natural captain after Rice left was Aaron Cresswell, and Moyes has sort of refused to say it was Aaron Cresswell. So maybe Moyes knew on Tuesday that, or when he was getting asked these questions, there's a chance that Cresswell was going to get moved on and that Wolves were interested in him. Now, I know why Wolves want him. They've obviously got Ait Nouri. They've got Ryan Giles there, who was fantastic last season, but there's a lot of talk about him going back out on loan rather than staying at Wolves. Lopetegui wants more homegrown players at Wolves, wants more British players specifically. And I mean, signed Craig Dawson, wants Cresswell, wanted Mikel Antonio. I think Lopetegui's just got nightmares from that game against Sevilla when we beat them in the Europa League. I think he just wants to reassemble the West Ham squad that beat his Sevilla team. But I'd be sad to see Cresswell go, but I do think it makes sense. I do. I think it makes sense. To get money for a 33-year-old is fine. Emerson and he and Emerson are two completely different left backs. If Emerson's going to be our first choice left back, which is what we feel, that's fine. He deserves it. But let's say Emerson gets injured. You've almost got to change the way you play completely to accommodate a left back. And I'm not necessarily comfortable with that. Now, I like having different profiles of players, because if we were to switch to 3 at the back, Cresswell can play left centre back, Emerson can play left wing back. Brilliant. Cresswell left wing back, not so keen. So I get why you need a bit of variety. But we do also have to switch up how we play if we swap left backs, and I'm not too keen on that one. And when the Cresswell news came out, I was a little bit worried by it, because I thought this is a bit of a strange one. But then I see the players were being linked to, and I thought actually I'd get over Cresswell pretty quickly if we were to bring in some of the players we've been targeted with. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 in particular. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about 1 in particular, but another rumour. So the second rumour is, and this one's come from Wendell on West Ham Online, which is a really good West Ham fans forum. And Wendell's been on there for numerous years, and he's called some stuff right in the past. Pablo Fornals, I remember him being the first one to the Pablo Fornals transfer under Pellegrini. And he's the first one I've seen do this, or someone sent me the stuff that Wendell put up saying that we're after a left back from France. And that's all it was. But since then, the rumours evolved a little bit. It's everywhere now, and there's names being linked to us. But I think it's a little bit of guesswork off the back of what Wendell on West Ham Online said, which is left back from France. So I think people have gone and had a look at the left backs from France and thought, well, who could it be? It won't be him, won't be him, won't be him. Could be him, could be him. Let's just link them to West Ham. So I'm not going to go into names. And also the second thing is, I don't know anyone. I could tell you the names that were being linked to. Truffit, I think, is one of them. I can't tell you anything about him. Teammate of Aguerd. Aguerd used to play with him. There you go. That's all I know. So possibly Aguerd's recommended him to West Ham. I don't know anything about him. I don't watch French football at all. Nothing. I don't even tune in for, I don't know, PSG against Lille, top versus second. I don't know. I still won't watch it. I watch no French football at all. So I can't tell you anything about the left backs. But the one that I do have seen quite a lot is Ian Maatsen of Chelsea at Burnley last season. He was superb. Now, I didn't see him at Coventry the season before. Didn't see him. But last season, seen him loads at Burnley. Seen Burnley on telly a lot. And I like him. I like him a lot. Now, this is the advantage of doing these videos. So if you go back to during the World Cup, did a video, 10 players from the Championship. That's just a simple... It was the World Cup. It was 2 months. We had to get creative. So it was 10 players from the Championship. I hope West Ham are scouting. Something like that. Alex Scott was in there. There was a couple of others in there that have gone on. Pedro, the guy that's joined Brighton from Watford, he was in there. But there was also a couple of crap players that were rubbish last season. But forget them. So a couple of good ones. A couple of crap ones. But forget them ones. But Maatsen was in there because he caught the eye early. As soon as he went to Burnley, he caught the eye with his attacking runs from left back. A bit more Emerson than Cresswell. Defensively, it looked okay, but largely untested at Burnley. When your left back plays for the best team in the league and Championship, it's difficult to gauge him defensively. But what you can do is work out how good he is going forward, because they have the ball plenty of times, Burnley, and he was excellent going forward. Got the wildest red card last season, possibly. Google it if you haven't already seen it. Basically, someone leathered him and he went flying. And there was about 2 seconds because he went flying. He had to get back up again. So he was for 2 seconds, which is a long time, and then he just comes running back and just like elbowed the guy in the back and just got sent. It's a stupid red card. But anyway, he's a Chelsea player, back at Chelsea. He's currently on pre-season with them, 21 years old, but homegrown as well, which is important for us. So this is why he's ticking a lot of the boxes. Does he need minutes? He does. Would he be understudy to Emerson? He would. Would he accept that? Do you know something? I hope he would. Is he good enough to be left back in the Premier League yet? Maybe at a club like Burnley. He could get a punt there, or like Bournemouth have done with Kirkes, bring in a youngster, you're going to get game time here. But he's more likely to get minutes being second fiddle to Emerson than he is being third in the pecking order behind Cucurella and Ben Chilwell, as he would be at Chelsea. But not only that, they've got Hall as well, so there's another youngster at Chelsea, possibly even ahead of Maatsen in the pecking order, because Hall was there last season and got game time. Now, he did score against Wrexham, but he played left wing, which is not his position. Maybe he would get converted there, because, like I said, he is really, really good going forward. But I think there's room for this transfer. 20 million is his rumoured price tag. I mean, if you can spend 50 million and go from Cresswell to Maatsen, I think you're laughing. From 33-year-old, who you've had the best out of, to a 21-year-old with his best yet to come. I think that's a bargain. Fullbacks cost a lot of money in this day and age. I think Maatsen would be... When I seen the link to Maatsen, I got excited. I thought, yes, please. So I'm hoping that one's true, and I'm hoping that one happens as well. Lastly, let's finish it up with Carlos Borges. Fabrizio Romano, who sort of broke the advanced talks thing yesterday, did a cryptic tweet. Can't speak today. He did a cryptic tweet last night with like a timer and whatever, which would suggest that what I reported earlier is happening. It's happening. That verbal agreement's definitely happened. I've had confirmation that I was correct with what I reported earlier. It was a bit cryptical, but it was positive in regards to the West Ham side of thing. But what has come out since that's been accepted is that Carlos Borges has chose West Ham over Frankfurt, Dortmund and Brighton. So whoever was involved in these negotiations, fair play, because we fought off some big clubs there, especially Brighton. Because Brighton have got this reputation now, haven't they? They should have this reputation of where young players can go, get an opportunity, but also Brighton will let you go. Assuming the buying club meets their asking price, they will not stand in your way. They will allow you to leave. That's the appeal from Brighton. I'm surprised he would come to us over Brighton, which was why, like I said, whoever has handled negotiations for West Ham, well done, because we've managed to get in a young player in high demand. Again, I go back to what I said about Palhinha. It's possibly money. I would imagine our wages for Carlos Borges is a greater offer than what Brighton are offering. I'd be surprised I'd be shocked actually if it wasn't. Maybe it's just money. I don't care. It's a place of employment. I have no issues with a player moving for money, or whether it's for status, going from the Championship to the Premier League, whether it's to go and win trophies, whatever the reasoning is, it doesn't bother me. This is a job to them. Carlos Borges does not support West Ham, and he does not support Brighton. So if he comes to West Ham for money, I would like to hope he's coming for the opportunity. But there's more evidence on show at Brighton that you'll get an opportunity than there is at West Ham. But like I said, we don't know what was said in negotiations of that. But it sounds promising that he will become a West Ham fan. And I've never seen him play. Heard about him, a lot of hype about him. But I don't think there's an issue with getting excited about a signing that you've never seen play before based on other people's accounts of him. Man City fans are disappointed to lose him. They've got big hopes for him. That should be enough. You should be allowed to be excited that a fan base that watch him a lot for his under-21s are gutted about that he's leaving. And we had, me and Gonzo did the video yesterday, there's Man City fans in that one saying good luck, like you're going to enjoy him, he's going to be a top player, glad he's going to West Ham, blah 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 blah. You should be, well, I'd say you can get excited off the back of those accounts. I am, so bring him on. So anyway, hopefully Carlos Borges will be a West Ham fan, and I am hoping that Ian Maatsen becomes a West Ham fan, a West Ham player. I'm hoping Ian Maatsen becomes a West Ham player as well. But anyway, there you go. There's a handful of selected transfer rumours at the minute. The Palhinha one, I have to make a prediction now, and it's just a prediction. It's not. There's no information. I've got the same information as you do, but if I had to make a prediction, I think we'll sign Palhinha, and as long as we get Carlos Borges and another couple of youngsters in there, I'm okay with that, because while we've got the second oldest squad in the league, what that does do is it gives you opportunity to bring in the youngsters. If we had the youngest squad in the league like Southampton did last season, and you've got to get a technical director, there's almost a focus on him to bring in the older, experienced players. Palhinha was 28, he'll be 29 soon. That's not a bad age, it's just that his ability will be there, his contribution to West Ham will be there, it's just that the resale value won't be. I can stomach that if we're bringing in Borges and Maatsen, where you assume that his value would go up a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to shut up, I'm going to disappear. If you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on, subscribe to Ham's Chat. Catch up with you tomorrow.